And welcome back to Johnny's Pizza House Friday Night Blitz. We are joined once again by Charlie Cavell. You had so much fun here last week, you couldn't help it but bring yourself back.
You said there was pizza.
Well, I don't know if I made that promise, but you know, he's the voice of Byrd football, and he's been the voice of the Byrd football for quite some time. They played Parkway tonight. We talked about it last week. They needed to be able to stop this Parkway offense. They allowed 52 points. What did you see from their defense?
Well, not much. They held Parkway underneath their average of 58.5 points a game, but no, Parkway's just a prolific offensive football team. They've, Gary Burney, Tony Gladney, great receivers. Caleb Williams had a fantastic night throwing the football, and they have a mammoth offensive line. And then they, DeCal, I butchered his name all night long, Damian DeCal. They run the ball efficiently, and Byrd's defense just couldn't match up with them.
But one thing Byrd did do well was running the football. You know, they scored 24 points in their own right, and they rushed for almost 400 yards. That three-headed monster we talked about last week was back at it again this week. Yeah,
Colin Deere, he was Colin Deere again. He ran for over, I think it was like 238 yards. And Byrd ran the ball well at times, and really throughout the game moved the ball efficiently. Penalties and turnovers were a killer. In one series, Byrd had 3 straight false start penalties. And you just can't do that against mediocre teams, much less a team like Parkway. I think that, if I remember right, Byrd finished with 13 penalties for 85 yards. You can't have those mistakes and expect to beat a team as quality as Parkway is.
Yeah, we mentioned Parkway's offense last week. We're obviously talking about them now. But Parkway, Loyola scored 70 points versus Minden. Captain Shreve puts up points. Evangel puts up points. All these teams.
I thought we were talking about football. Basketball scores. When did basketball season start? I thought that was like for another 2 weeks or so. Nah, it's crazy. Defense has been hard to find up in Northwest Louisiana this week.
When we mentioned in North DeSoto too, they're scoring a lot of points. Out of those teams that we've talked about, defense wins championships. So which team has the chance to have the best defensive group?
Well, and the kind of the buzzword going around all of football these days is complementary football. And from my perspective, I think the team that plays the best complementary football that I've seen so far this year is North DeSoto. They've got a really good offense, two-headed monster at running back. Obviously, Luke Delafield, he's a 4-year starter quarterback, but they play really good defense, and they showed it again tonight. And I think of the teams that I've seen and taken a look at, I think North DeSoto plays the best complementary football, complements their outstanding offense with a very good defense.
Before we came out here tonight, we were talking about what happened right before halftime. The kicker for Byrd, he's phenomenal.
Asher Murray, he made a 50-yard field goal tonight, and I'm almost positive I'm about 98% sure that I'm correct. He kicked 3 50-plus yard field goals last year, which, according to Lee Hiller, a big friend of mine who works for the Advocate, no kicker had ever done that in the history of Northwest Louisiana football. He kicked 3 50-plus yarders last year. He added a 50-yarder tonight, so that's 4 in his career, and he is now in a tie for second on the career made field goals list at Byrd. And he's going to graduate in midterm. He's going to go to Texas A&M, and his older brother is kicking for the Cal Bears. Abram Murray, who was our kicker 2 years ago and before that. He's just carrying on a family tradition. And Asher just barely missed. I want to say it was a 59-yarder a little later in the game, and it just kind of faded left to the upright. But He's been phenomenal. I can go on and on and on about how good Asher Murray is, and quite frankly, you know, Asher played quarterback as a sophomore, and he's if not the best athlete, he's certainly in the top 2 or 3 best athletes on the team.
When you have a kicker that can kick that far, you have Byrd. You know, Byrd is playing really good this season. Obviously, Parkway, juggernaut offensively. You'd wish that you would play better defensively. But when you have a kicker that can kick a field goal from 50 yards, what seemingly was basically ease, what does that do for your offense?
Well, a long time ago, the head coach at Ouachita Parish High School, John Carr, this is when David Hankins, who Asher tied tonight, David Hankins was Byrd's place kicker. He went on to kick at Ole Miss. John Carr was quoted the next day saying, when you have a high school kicker who consistently puts the ball in the end zone, and unfortunately for Asher tonight, after he kicked that field goal, he mishit the kickoff. He drove it down to about the 1-2 yard line, and what happened? Braxton Black took it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when you have a kicker that can consistently kick in the end zone for touchbacks and forcing high school offenses to have to consistently drive 80-plus yards for touchdowns, that's quite a weapon. And also, you know, you started off the game with a 50-yard field goal. Obviously, you like to have a touchdown, but having that weapon in your arsenal is big, and it proved big last year. I mean, he kicked a 56-yarder, which tied the area record, city, school, parishes record of John Shaughnessy. He tied John with that at the end of the half, and a number of his field goals last year came on the final gun of the first half, and it's an incredible weapon to have a kicker like Asher Murray. And fortunately at Byrd, been blessed with a number of great kickers throughout my 30 years of being affiliated with Byrd football.
Well, from Byrd's weapon to ours, we appreciate you once again for joining us. Charlie will stay with us, but coming up on the Blitz, we have the Plays and Player of the Week, and which school is close to $1 million spending spree. Find out next.